Hey, how's it going? It is, the light is like in the bad spot. But it's Sunday, just starting a new painting. Usually I go live on Wednesdays, but I just figured since I was starting a new painting, why not? Um, as you can see, my palette already has a bunch of paints on there because I've been painting all morning. But I do have a clean canvas that I'm going to be starting on. And again, I'm like in this weird push to get this painting and then the other painting behind me done so I can hang it up in July at Duke's in downtown Crystal Lake. So that's kind of my big push. So I wanted to get this one started. This one's also like taking photographs from. I was in Crystal Lake taking photographs, and I'm kind of still doing my robot thing with them. And yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. So I figured I would just go live, and if anyone pops on, that's cool. And if no one does, that's fine anyway, because I got stuff to do. So, but I haven't. I felt like haven't been on in a while. Just been so busy painting and doing other stuff, other artwork stuff. So this is another outdoor scene. I prepped it in blue. I'm coming back. I'm going to kind of draw everything in blue, and then I'll start working kind of back to front. And how long will I be on tonight? Probably at least an hour or so. We'll see. See. So if anyone's got any questions, that's cool. I always like people popping on saying hi, even if it's just to say, "Hey, how's it going?" I think I got the wrong. Yeah. It's the right image. The right image. It's the wrong grid. I redid it this morning. And of course, why would anything work? Close that and reopen it. Not updating the most recent. Anyway, let me get this sorted for one sec. Assume everyone else in the world is outside because it's a nice weather, but who knows? Maybe some people are afraid of the outside. Boom, there it is. All right, had to get out of it and back into it. This will make my life easier because it's the right scale. I want to water it down so it kind of paints like watercolor does. Uh, halfway, kind of in there. Way down there. All right, so by down here it needs to be there. Okay. A very boxy robot today. Over here. That's probably pretty close. A little higher. Oh, rounded. This is a robot I actually picked up in California last year. Now that becomes sort of my thing when I travel anywhere. I try to find a robot. Splits and thirds. Got little pincher hands. I'm just gonna kind of capture these faces of this shape. All right. So it's for my own benefit. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I do have some music on. That's there. Kind of splits. This does stop before then. All right, let's get some of his arms here. This should be the bottom. Let me get this right. Should be down like this. Hit it, and then expand it, which means this has to be higher. Yeah, that's better. Kicks up there. That goes out here. This guy's got a key out the back. Oh, actually, it's on the side. Goes into here. That's about halfway up. What I'm going to do is kind of block in some of the structure, and then I'm going to start in the background paint the sky, and then work my way forward. And this dude's got some like cone eyes, I guess. Red cone eyes. There we go. Right here. He's got these gears in the chest, but I don't really need to get into too much detail of that right now. Kind of has a seam like right through that arm. Okay. That's his space. And then I've got there. Yeah. It's going to go all the way. You're probably wondering what this is. It will become evident at some point. So is that this dramatic foreshortening of this pier? Something like that. And this goes pretty much straight. Got some more brights. But I wanted to find these two characters. And this was just two people that were standing on the pier. I thought it was really weird for taking pictures. Yeah, they went too big with him. He's there. And it should be over a little bit. Should be over here. Here, I'll just do this. At this stage, this is how I erase. I just paint over without lighter color. Move this guy over a little bit better. Okay. Because next to him, we got a little girl. How about this big? He's like shooting this something this way. Okay. A little dirt path I needed to find. Oh, right there. And then there'll be these uprights. And then these uprights are over here on the other side. Right. So there's a pole between them. And then another pole here, over here. A couple ones there. Just go this way. Oh, so it's at the line and before the line. All right, so the water level, I did like some other stuff, but actually, somewhere in here. Yeah. So it's very dramatic because I was down low taking this picture. All right, so we got this walk into it, gravel, walkway to this pier, giant robot. And I'm not going to go into all the details at this point as far as the landscape. I just want to mark off sort of where I'm at as far as where I have to be concerned about. That doesn't get much higher than that. But probably just going to fill in the sky like all the way down to this level and then worry about it later. There's this tree right here which helps define the foreground. Out here it starts to branch off. There's that. Another cool feature is they've got these, mostly these Japanese bridges in this park. So where I see them, I want to make sure I have them. They're going to be in the background small. There's actually another dude that's walking right over here. Bench right there. Okay. Another tree here that goes off the page. how high that is, so about 2 before that splits. All right, that's going to go all the way to the top. That's going to go all the way over here. I don't want to worry about it. I'm just worried about the stuff in the background. So like that high. All right, now if I go this way, I do have kind of greenery there. That kind of opens back towards us. And then I've got this weird little stuff. Like this tube. I think it's for cigarettes or trash or something. I got some signage. Pretty large because it's in the foreground. It's all like the don't swim, no one, don't pollute. Bunch of signage there. What else I got? I got this opens up, but there's a lot of weeds and stuff over here. Yeah, something like that. All right, so you're starting to see it. Starting to see it, right? And again, I kind of want it on this series. I want to make the sky almost like a character of itself. Just this idea that as a child looking at painting or looking at the world around you and imagining things, like there's the idea that the sky is like limitless. A couple levels of like things going on over here. The other thing I kind of want to do is just to start to think about the shadow. That should work. Got underneath his chin some shadow. Lights definitely come from the left. All sort of in shadow. That comes around. This is like right there. All right, so on this side, it's because that hand's kind of causing a shadow. Uh, that's that's got the same legs as that robot I just did for that for the Rouse Center. Might be the same like factory, I think. And they use the same model. All right, we gotta get him like sketched in. So he looks here. All right. So this is all going to be water. But I kind of want to start with the sky. Some more space. This blue-gray, kind of an overcast day. All right. This is always tough because even though there's underpainting, it doesn't until you get paint, kind of a layer of paint on there, it doesn't really accept paint. So it's like you got to fight it that first coat. I'm gonna go a little darker. Yeah, it's better. It's better. I'm almost better off like covering a little bit, overlapping a little bit rather than going the other way. Because I don't want to have to match the color later on. It's going to be hard to see because I'm just starting to get some of these clouds in. So this is actually going to be real dark compared to the rest of the sky. And again, this is another location in Crystal Lake, so somebody will figure it out eventually. Well, thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. Is there enough information to tell where we're at yet, do you think? You lived in Crystal Lake probably as long as I have, or close. Got one down here. And it's going to go. At this point, I'm pretending that the trees aren't going to be there because it's going to be easier to let them dry and paint over. It's really not. Kind of it goes all the way out here. Around. Okay. 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 I am sort of loving painting skies because it's not usually what I do, but it's a lot of fun to kind of bang through them pretty quick and just just have like a little like expressive strokes and push paint around. I have been thinking about just taking smaller canvases and just painting live um, on site from start to finish. Obviously, that would be, I'd have to scout it out and think about exactly. I have a bunch of references for stuff I was going to add in, so it's kind of at the right angle, so I'm not worried about it too much when I'm there. But I like the idea that people would be like, seeing your paint and be like, okay, I see this part, but what is that? Like, why is there, why do you have a big robot in the middle of this scene that's not there? Or maybe another children's toy or something else. Definitely have to squeeze out some more paint in a minute here. I'll do that right now. Oop. Colors, colors. White, absence of colors. Eek. Be a mess. It's 82. Oh, I'm from 74. Since 74. But let's be honest, first couple of years, what do you remember? 82 is about where I start having memories. Yeah, with the skies, you get to do like the Bob Ross, like happy trees and happy clouds. Darker. And because I also did a grid, I gotta like fill that grid in too. Make sure it's thick enough. There we go, there we go. it's coming out of his face, but it just happens to be that way. And I'm painting on my small. I got my big easel behind me, but I'm on the small easel, which kind of bounces around more, so it's a little more chaotic. Bob Ross is the man. I remember in college I used to go to painting class and then watch Bob Ross afterwards. He's happened to be on like whatever their PBS station was. Always made everything achievable. Okay, so that's kind of the dark parts of the cloud, so I'm going to kind of switch it up and jump into like the real lightest parts, and then I'll bridge the gap between the two. And I suspect I probably didn't go dark enough, but that's the nature of the beast. All right. This is really just going to bop around and find the lightest spots. I'm just kind of working around the areas I put the dark spots in. All right, got a real light spot up here. Another one on this side. And this whole part's pretty light. It's sort of behind a tree, but I gotta ignore that. I don't want to, if I water it down too much, it's not gonna, I have a little grid here just to help me draw, and I gotta keep it thick enough that I cover that and cover the underpainting. I'm gonna overlap a little so I don't have to worry about it down the road. Let's go all the way down. Yeah. Overlap kind of between his claws. I don't have to worry about that. It's prongs. I don't know what he's got. There's a bunch of gears in his chest that are going to be a ginormous pain in the butt, but I know that going into it. Okay, okay, okay. I just want to make sure I cover up. My grid, I don't thin out there. And I know I'm gonna have to paint over this with. Got to figure out how warm or cool the color is, but once I get this layer on and I let it dry, it's gonna be so much easier to paint over. Let's get that first layer worked into the canvas. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right, got that cloud. I got this one that comes up here. Not as white or as big. At this stage, I try to keep it pretty close to the reference. Once you're almost done, then I take a lot of liberties to pull out the things I want to and have it read the right way. I try to get close from the start to something that I have reference of, so I'm not, off with the depth of it or the perspective of it. Blend this down. I'm going to bring another in between color between these. Oh, thanks. It's a mess right now. It probably looks better on screen than it does in real life, but that's okay because I know where it's kind of going. This is going to be very much the opposite of a lot of the other painting I'm working on at the same time, in that I'm going to mix another color here because the current painting I'm working on is in downtown Crystal Lake shot, and it has so much detail, so much like, oh man, just little signs and streets, and the road changes colors and railroad tracks, and oh, there's so much. Which is cool. Little cars in the distance, and buildings, and a train in the distance. But this one is a little more direct, a little more straightforward, I guess. Which is good because my deadline has not changed, so don't need these completely dry and framed by July 1st. So that's only going to happen if I get them all painted at least a week before that. Ideally 2 weeks, but probably a week is more realistic at this point. Okay, so I want to go. Yeah, I'll show kind of where that's at some point. I spent a ton of time this last week on it. This is actually not quite too dark, and then it was too light. Yeah, it's coming together. The other painting's coming together, so I'm real excited. Definitely pushing myself in new ways. This kind of just peeks through, so I just want to have some paint there for when it peeks through. Same thing here. There we go. It's going to peek through. See, now I'm just like pushing paint around. Pushing it around. Oh, where does that go? Maybe there. Alcohol and acrylic markers. Have I done it? I don't know if I've done anything with acrylic markers. I think we gave my niece and nephew like sets of those, and they really like them. I don't know how. I think I honestly don't know. I know. I feel like I've heard people talk about the shelf life of a picture that's done in that, and that was a problem that colors change or fade or something. But I don't know if it was those or like a different set of markers, like those Copic markers. Copic. That color's better than where it was. I've tried acrylics a couple times, not the marker specifically, but and just because sometimes depending on what you're painting, it makes more sense. But the thing that always bothered me is that at least the ones I was using, the colors would change when it dried, and then when you come back to it, and they dry quickly. So you come back to it quickly, and you're like, oh, I need to mix this color again, and then you're looking at it, and that color is not the color you started with. So it's tough to mix and get back to it. And that might just be me being ignorant on some of the details, because you can't be a master of everything. Here we go. Kind of just want to get like the sky filled and the values close to where I want them to be. And then I can kind of fade them into each other. as I'm going, I'm continuing to remind myself to push into the shape. Because if you don't do that, you're going to come back, it's going to be a real pain in the butt. So, like, you're just going to have a line that's not going to make sense, and then you have to paint a bunch of extra stuff to match it. Oof. Yeah, it looks so different on screen. And part of that's just the reflected light I have coming at that angle. It looks very dramatic. I think it's in real life, it's pretty dramatic too. But these colors together. Another rare time where I actually take advantage of oils drying slowly, that you can kind of push them into each other and create cool effects. Lighten this area up. Yeah, I really love oils. I mean, that's what I learned with, so it's it's something but I always liked it because actually my oldest was asking me why I have been doing these in oils, and for these specifically, I like it because it's like the idea of doing a take on a traditional subject like landscape hair or portraiture when I was doing like the portraits of the robots. But then you have an unusual subject matter. So I like it. It'd be like, well, if you're doing like an oil landscape, that's a popular, there's a zillion people out there that do that. Like it's a typical way to do landscapes. but then to add in like something atypical to me was kind of an interesting take on it. It's almost like because it's oil and it's landscape, it's already valid, so you can kind of do anything with it and play on that idea without it just kind of being like a new form. It's like a commentary on a traditional form of art and kind of elevating a subject matter that is not usually considered fine art by everything else being fine art in like a traditional way. I don't know. I'm crazy and think about such things. Plus, with a nice thing about it, it's like a practical point of view. I mean, it takes longer to dry, so you have to deal with that. Obviously, they're not cheap materials, but they do last a long time and they hold their color well. And when you mix them, um, they don't dry to a different color. They dry to the same color, so that's easier to mix colors. Like if you're painting something realistic, you have a better idea what it's going to look like when it dries. The luster is different, so you have to deal with that a little bit, like whether it's glossy or not. But it's a cool thing. Oh, these clouds are a mess. I think the clouds are a mess right now, but I think it's coming together. I think it looks a lot cooler on screen than it does in real life at this stage. Weirdly. I just kind of want to blend these together and make sure I have this canvas covered. I don't have spots that are peeking through. I can change the color and do it and mix things, but if I have that canvas peeking through, it's never going to be complete or look complete. And then when I make changes, it's going to take paint differently depending on how much paint. Like if it's canvas, I have to like really push more paint into it. But if once I have a layer of paint on there, it should accept it pretty much the same no matter what. Okay, what's going on over here? It's still pretty light. Kind of go in between and then combine it. I want the clouds to be fluffy in spots. It's like you just kind of like use the brush in different ways. Kind of flop it on there and spread it around. All right, right. Layer up into there. All right, same thing down here. Clean my palette after this before I paint anything else. All right. So blend, blend. Up. Normally, if I had this much paint on a canvas at this stage, I would go over with my palette knife and smooth it out. Probably won't do that. I might do it in select areas just because I still need it to be thick. If I do that, I'm going to expose canvas and kind of run into the problem I'm trying to fix. So this whole side is pretty much covered at least. See what I got up here. It's still pretty light, huh? And the nice thing about this big sky is that when I get done, that's like half the painting's done, which is unheard of, right? I mean, I'm going to still work on it, but that painting will be kind of blocked in and covered in paint at least. That in, work that in. It's actually pretty light up here, so gonna mix a new color, not quite so white. Yeah, this will work. Oh, favorite brands? I don't know. I think it's tough because there's not a lot around. So I get the Winsor Newton because I can get the big tubes, just because I paint so much. I guess that's what I use now, even though I do have like a bunch of other stuff as well. Last couple times I've purchased, that's what I've purchased is the Winsor Newton and the big tubes because they'll last more than the small tubes. Just go through them so quick if you're working on big canvases. But if you're just getting started, the small tubes are probably good, and just do like I don't know, like 11 by 14s or something small, something that you can kind of get done in 3 or 4 hours and kind of get experience with it, and then work your way up to bigger canvases. Yeah, some really good teachers that really like focused on producing a lot of material rather than just trying to get like instead of having like a couple paintings that are just like, oh, this is what you did for the last 3 months. That they really pushed us to make like 20 paintings, rather, and then even if they're less finished paintings, you learn so much more from doing different paintings than you do from just spending so much time on a couple. So we would do a ton of small paintings. And then once you a couple years in, then you could kind of do whichever you wanted. I think that's probably the best way to learn. I actually read a couple studies to that effect too. Where they took two different classes, and one of them they just had to turn in one thing all semester, do one thing, and the other one they just got graded on how many they did. They didn't judge them along the way. They didn't judge the quality or anything. But then they found out that just by painting more and creating more, you got better than the person that spent all the time like focusing on one. And even if all the paintings weren't great and some were failures, you learn a lot from that too. All right. Good plan. See where this is at. That's also why it's so helpful to be like in a classroom setting with other people, like, or at least some account like social accountability. Because I didn't grow up with like artistic people in my family that were doing stuff like this, so I was just the weird one in the group. I guess I still am. What else would I be doing? Playing golf or some other, like fishing or some other silly thing that I don't like doing. Riding, going for Sunday rides on a motorcycle. All right, so I think probably I just want to make it a little fluffy. Um, that's the sky. Get lighter in this area. I spend a little more time on the sky, and then I'm gonna jump over to my other painting that I'm working on and let this dry for a day or two. These edges are going to be tough to work with until it's dry. Say that as I'm still painting because I'm still seeing things I want to keep doing. A little weird there, but I'll darken this part up a little bit. That's hard to tell until you get more of the rest of the painting. Yeah, when I really get into painting and drawing and stuff, it's like I look up and it's like 4 hours go by and I don't even know what happened. And then you can see, the nice thing is you can see the difference, right? Like I'm working on big things, so sometimes if you're working on small painting, you could almost get done with it by that point, right? But on a big stuff, it's like you can still see the difference if you take pictures, but like before you start and after you're done. But at least you feel like you accomplished something. I always think of it more like a meditation than a relaxation. I don't know. Maybe there's no difference. I'm not good at relaxing. I got to be doing something. I just have a stigma about relaxation. I'm going to come in some darker because I need to do some work down here into here. But I think I'm going to wrap it up. How long have we been going today? See, an hour and 20 minutes. It was quick. Just going to step outside, get some vitamin D, and then come back and look at this with fresh eyes and see where I'm at. I can probably show my other painting that I'm working on. That's where I'm at. I kind of see it. Come on. Oh, did I undo it? I'm the worst. I'm the worst. Yeah, that didn't work out well. Okay, so yeah. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna bounce out anyway. So yeah. Thanks for everyone who jumped on when you jumped on. Amy, thanks for talking to you. I'm gonna head out and then paint a little bit later. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.